Hey guys, you're watching Team APS. I'm Paul, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about Yu-Gi-Oh! Ban lists. However, this isn't going to be a ban list predictions video or anything like that. We're still in the middle of a very heated, crazy format, and so, a lot's going on. I think that now's not really the time. We've still got several more nationals to go through. I'll probably make a ban list predictions video at some point after that. This isn't really going to be talking about that. It's going to be talking a little bit more about ban lists in general as of the last few years. So this is something that I thought about when the last one came out. I was talking to Chris about it, and he was having some similar thoughts to me about like how Konami's been approaching these ban lists lately, and whether or not that's going to continue, what maybe the thought process behind it all is, that kind of thing. So what do I mean? Well, I feel like, I'll make it simple. I feel like Konami actually has been super chill and laid back with these ban lists lately. It feels like instead of, like hitting lots of cards and archetypes and decks, they actually haven't been doing very much. It feels kind of like they're taking a more like fine-tooth comb approach, like, take a little bit of something here, move something there, like just playing with these cards in smaller ways and just fine-tuning formats rather than completely overhauling them. And I think that this is a good thing, because the big takeaway from it is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually feels like a safer game to invest in these days. It feels like decks and archetypes are a lot safer from, ban list purging. And it means that players are, forced, maybe that's a strong word, but encouraged to adapt and kind of figure things out instead of just having Konami solve every little problem and complaint for them. So let's start with the obvious one since the start of the Vrains era. Decks like Gokis, Trickstars, and Altergeists. These have all been like top tier decks at some point in varying, forms and fashions. None of these three decks, suspiciously enough, have had a single card get hit on the ban list. And that might seem really strange because, there was a time when people were like, Trickstars, this is such an obnoxious deck, it's too good. Reincarnation Droll is just dumb, it's so consistent. Light Stage and Candina, they just search everything and they burn you. But none of those cards got hit. Thing is though, Trickstars themselves are still, they're still around, but they're not winning anymore. So what's that mean? Well, it seems to mean that we as players kind of just grew past it. Whether it was through, power creep, stronger archetypes, stronger decks coming out, or just players adapting or changing trends because of their tastes and because of their preferences, we have made it through, we've lived to see a world without, with Trickstars. And that's really cool to think about, because as powerful as Reincarnation is, and, the Reincarnation Droll combo and stuff, it's not a deck that's currently, dominating, and we made it through, we lived to tell the tale. Another deck is Gokis. It's a deck that, it's got the ability to recur a lot. When these monsters go to the grave, they get new Gokis, and there were some crazy things that this deck could do. But Goki Rematch never got hit. None of the Goki monsters ever ended up on the ban list. Some people were like, oh, hit Suprex or something. None of them ever got hit. And here we are, right? They aren't winning things. They're just a deck that exists. Altergeist as well, Meliseek, Multi-Faker, Personal Spoofing. People have said, different things, different cards should all get hit in some way or another. Haven't gotten hit, and they're fine. We're fine too. So I think what Konami's doing here is, they're taking away external pieces from decks. So, of course, we've lost Nightmare Goblin, we've lost Firewall Dragon, we've lost Summon Sorceress, but they didn't hit Gokis. And I think that's good, because that should maybe help show people that oftentimes it's not the archetypes themselves that are issues. It's sometimes just one, maybe two cards that might be pushing an archetype over the edge, or that an archetype might be abusing. And that's a good thing. I like that, because, it means that if you invested in like Gokis, or you really like Altergeist, or you really like Trickstars, you don't lose your deck just because some people are complaining about some facet of it. And that's really cool. Another really big thing is the token generator thing. So Konami has pretty obviously been removing the amount of token generating cards we've seen in the game. Gofu got banned, Grinder Golem got limited and then eventually banned, Dandy was banned pretty early on, and Phantom Sky Blaster is at 1, we lost Galaxy Tomahawk. as you guys can tell, like the token cards they've been going, scapegoat even. And that has, gradually shifted some game trends. Trickstars got weaker maybe because they lost things like Scapegoat, for instance. That was a really strong card for them. But the Trickstars didn't get hit. Scapegoat got hit. I think that's a cool way for Konami to handle decks because, again, it doesn't hurt the Trickstar players. They don't feel like, if you like Trickstars, you're not just going to randomly lose Candina and Light Stage and Reincarnation and now your deck is gone. You just, some of the more competitive external cards get removed from the equation. And I think that's great because, token generating cards, they weren't necessarily played a whole lot before the advent of Link Monsters. Link Monsters kind of pushed them, over the edge. That's how it is. We've talked about this before. But that's okay. I don't mind those token generating cards leaving because it means that archetypes get to stay safe. And the thing that I mentioned at the start of the video too was that it's safer to invest. It's safer to invest in archetypes. It's also safer to invest in cards. A few, choice cards I want to talk about here are Evenly Matched. So Evenly Matched came out, and there was a time when a lot of people were like, this card is too strong, this card needs to be limited or banned. It, banishes everything face down. That's crazy, that's too much. But Konami didn't end up hitting Evenly Matched. And so as a result, it has actually decreased in price. It's not as popular as it once was. No one's really complaining a whole lot about Evenly Matched anymore. And that's cool. It even applies to Ash Blossom, a card that a lot of people are like, this card's too good. But now, in addition to getting a lot of reprints and being more accessible, people have just kind of come to accept it as a part of the game. And that's huge because it means that Konami knows a little bit more about what they're doing than people probably give them credit for. Now, that isn't to say that they don't hit problem cards. Like I said, Firewall is gone. Firewall caused FTKs, it's gone. But Firewall also doesn't belong to any particular archetype. And so, maybe some archetypes lost options when Firewall or Summon Sorceress got banned, but at least the archetypes didn't get banned. I say this because, once upon a time, Konami was a lot more ruthless with these ban lists and these archetypes. It really felt like it was a thing that was just meant to sell sets. We're going to hit 2 or 3 old archetypes as these new ones get rotated in, and you guys just have to deal with it. The ban list is it's a tool to move the old archetypes out and add these new archetypes in. You guys remember the days of Shadal's, Klee, Burning Abyss, Necros. A lot of them just got completely, wiped off, the face of the game with these ban lists so that they could push new stuff like Cosmos and Pepe and all of that. So that's not really happening as much anymore. Players are kind of the ones that are determining the trends in the game. Not to say that, it's entirely on us, but it does feel like more of the power is in the players' hands. And I think that's a very good thing. Now, what does that, how does this bode for us moving forward though? Well, a couple of important ones I want to talk about. A, Boral Sword Dragon. For some reason, this is a card that people wanted banned. I've heard people ban this card, it OTKs too much. I'm glad that sentiment's dying out. Maybe that was just really casual players. I don't know. People who just they couldn't afford it. Maybe that's why they were mad. But Boral Sword is going to be getting a reprint, and I think that here in a few months, it's going to slowly become that card that a lot of people have it. It just seems as a normal thing. You deal with it, you have your outs, and it exists, and people are fine with it. Another thing is dangers. Now, a few months ago, you'd be hard-pressed to find a person who didn't say, ban these dangers, get rid of, Nessie, get rid of Tsuchinoko, get rid of Jackalope. And I'm not saying, that the dangers don't deserve to be on the ban list. I don't really know. I don't have my complete thoughts on them yet. That's something I'm still developing myself. But I think that we have seen ever so slowly but steadily that they aren't as bad as I think people were making them out to be a few months ago. Yeah, they're an engine that you can use for Link monsters. They can be a really good advantage generating engine. They can help you draw cards. But they are not as game breaking as I think people initially felt. And that's a big thing, with Yu-Gi-Oh players is we have a tendency to overreact and kind of have knee-jerk, hot takes just this card or these cards are crazy, they need to be banned immediately. But I'm glad that Konami seems to be just kind of letting it rock, let the archetypes do what they're going to do, let them kind of play out, develop, players can find counterplay, players can choose trends and stuff, and it can move on its own. And all that Konami is doing is hitting small things. They hit Called by the Grave to 2. Didn't seem like it was something that made a lot of sense. It's back at 3. You know, you see small fine tunings like the scapegoat and token things. You also see like magical midfield breaker getting limited, for instance. It's not an archetype card, it's just a card that they felt was, you know, making FTK decks or just really powerful like combo decks too good. So they limited it to 1. I think that is a better way of handling the game. I'm really proud of Konami for taking that approach. As somebody who's played this game for a pretty long time, it's refreshing to see them not just kind of making it a money-mongering thing. I hope that that can start to kind of gradually dispel the rumor that, you know, Konami is just using this ban list to sell people new cards. And you can tell, I mean, when they made that one post before the last ban list, where they were like, yeah, the format's fine, people seem to be happy, tournament attendance is up, we're just going to make some small tweaks and adjustments. I really like that. I think that that's something that is good. I hope they continue to do it. I don't want to see Thunder Dragons, for instance, get, you know, torn apart. I don't think Thunder Dragons are like a crazy, powerful engine that's just, you know, breaking the game right now. I also don't think that Orchists are. And the same thing goes for Salamangreats and Sky Strikers. Like, yeah, you know, Kagri got limited. That's one example of an archetype card getting hit. And there are a couple others if you know, look around. But it hasn't been nearly as crazy as before, and that's great. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. The next ban list is slated to come out in, you know, no sooner than July 2nd. It will probably be a bit later than that, as always. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you feel like this is a good approach that Konami has been taking to the ban list? Or do you feel like, you know, they need to hit more cards and, you know, more things are just problematic and should get hit? Or do you like this more like, you know, reserved approach to things? Personally, I'm for the latter. Anyway, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments. And before you guys go, we've got some new Team APS playmats. We got this, and a couple others, all over on Inked Gaming. If you want to check them out, there's a link in the description. Be sure to use the code APS10. You get a 10% discount. And yeah, it's going to be it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Pastor.